defining what innovation looks like on the continent. From fintech to AI, health tech to edtech, African talents are solving local problems with global relevance. Yet, while the continent's potential is immense, challenges such as limited access to training, mentorship, and funding still stand in the way of scaling this talent pool to meet global standards. The question is, how can Africa harness and empower its growing base of tech talent to make a truly global impact? This morning on Business Morning, we will explore the strategies, opportunities, and partnerships needed to nurture Africa's next generation of innovators and position the continent as a leading player in the global digital economy. And joining us to discuss tech talents, global impact, empowering Africa's next generation of innovators is Alabi Bankole Michael. He's a technical skill development advocate. Good morning, Michael. It's good to have you on the show.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
All right, so let's start with the big picture. How are you going to assess Africa's progress in developing tech talent that can compete on the global range?
All right, thank you very much. I happen to be an auto electrical engineer for years, and that's not what I actually studied in school. So I studied mathematics as education science in school. So going by the way, I discovered that with my journey to and fro in life, I discovered that anytime I have to board the commercial vehicle, I noticed that there are some breakdown vehicles on the road. That has become a source of concern for me, that thinking to, have a way of solving people's problem. I was so curious about how could people be traveling and you see people breaking down on the road. I asked, what is the problem? So when I discovered it was a minor thing. So that led me to go and acquire skills on electrical, and I have to do with electrical because majority of those cars I was interviewed then happened to have electrical challenge. So I think with my own experience so far, I think what the African need to do is that we need to encourage more young people bringing in their skills to put it to work, because it's not everybody that we actually work, how would I call it now, that will engage in a white collar job. But from the cradles, like from the tender age, to discover what they are doing, like what they are best at. So I think if there is a place like a training center where people can gather, bringing their skills, what they have known so far, not necessarily that they should be in the four corners of the school setting for them to. So I think if government should do that, and then if there is if the government should have a place like where people can train like a training center, where people can really, where people can really discover their skills, not go to school from morning to night and all that, and at the end of the day, you don't have anything to write home about.
All right, so can you give us some of the areas of technology that you see Nigerian youth progressing in?
Okay. Moving forward, I think in the olden days, where I find myself, we have a modern cars now. But in the olden days, those technicians then, they require, a mechanic over time. They don't have a diagnosis tools. But now, so you don't need to rack your brain before you carry out diagnosis. If anything is wrong with the car, what you need to do is just get yourself a scanning machine. There are many tools, there are many diagnosis machines which you can make use of. Just get it will tell you where the problem is without wasting of the time. Just go there and fix it. I think that has been a great improvement in that aspect compared to the years before, where people have to begin to rack their brain on what to do and how to render a solution with whatever problem they have been confronted with.
All right, so like you mentioned that it's now progressive, but we can still see gaps in access to these trainings. So what do you think the government can actually do to make technical education more inclusive and practical?
Okay, I think number one thing that government needed to do is that to create the training centers where the young people can be trained and equipped and empowered at the same time. There is a difference between you being trained and having where to carry out the practical. Because what we're doing, what is happening in the tertiary institution, they were only trained, the theory aspect, but the practical aspect is not there. But if government should create the training center, well equipped with a sophisticated machine, where people can be exposed, okay, this is how this works, and that will really help the young one, Nigeria today to do more. And if government can create a channel where what they have acquired so far, where they can put it to practice, whether they have truly learned what they claim to have learned and all that.
Okay, so how can we ensure that these local talents are adequately supported, apart from putting up training centers for them? What can be done so that they can be really supported, so that they can scale up rather than just migrating abroad?
Honestly, it has become a source of concern for me. When you see people that are well trained, it's happening now and then. Let me take, for example, Lagos State, for example. You see that where you see people working, people that have had years of experience, and government will just come all of a sudden. They will dismiss them. That is a government landed property that they want to use it. By so doing, so the young people will no longer show interest, because at the end of the day, they will like, after the whole this thing, the government can just come from one morning and this. I think what government should do is to be intentional about the growth of the young one by giving them adequate support that they need in terms of the tools. Because nowadays you can hardly do things without the help of using of a machine. And as a government, looking at the majority of people traveling abroad, because they know that the life over there is more conducive. Is more, they appreciate what's it called, handwork there, the skills. Because what is happening over there is as a result of what they have acquired, the skills. So if government can do that, support the vision of the young one who are so talented in this case, be it in any field, and that will help the young one to see reason why they need to venture into that, why they need to bring their skill to use, and why they need to carry out their giving talent and to impart to society they find themselves, and that will bring about productivity to the nation as well.
So people say collaboration is key. The government, of course, cannot do everything on their own. So what do you think the private sector can actually do to build this strong digital infrastructure?
I think what private sector needed to do also is to be intentional also, as I've said, by helping the young one, by helping people, because either they like it or not, it will still come back on them. Because a society that is well equipped with talented people, and it's a private sector, will be an added advantage onto you. Also, so if private sector also can be intentional in raising the young people, like we have said that government cannot do everything. Government cannot do everything. As a private sector, look at the area where there is deficiencies, where you can help young ones to bring out their talents and all that. So if you as a private sector, if you support the how will I call it now? If you support the young one, the people around, people who are so much interested, in doing things with their own hand, I think that will make an environment a conducive place for people to live in. I think that's what the private sector also needed to do. Aside from government, this thing, the private should be ready to collaborate with government, what government are doing, and give in their own support as well.
So what is your outlook for the Africa technology future and space?
My outlook for let's say in 10 years to come, what I'm actually looking for is that Nigeria also, Africa in general, will also be a place where people will love to relocate to. Because I believe that in 10 years or 20 years to this time, there will be increments in the growth when it comes to technical skills and all that, and where people will love to want to go to Africa to actually look at what is going on there because of the innovation that is taking place, and then because we are the shape that the African is now picturing to the other nations or neighboring nations.
All right. So for young Africans that are aspiring to build global tech, global technology solutions, what advice do you have for them?
What advice I have for them is just simple. You cannot teach what you don't know.
Yeah.
First thing is to go to a place of training, get yourself acquainted, familiar with the necessary thing that you need to know before you start training people. Because what I discovered these days is that people were not ready to learn. They are not ready to learn, and they want to start teaching people and all that. So they are, to minimize the errors in the society. I think for you that you want to become, an innovator and a and technician, you need to get yourself acquainted with some terms, with some equipment, with some training that as regards what you want to do, so that you will be able to do. And you have to extend this not with your geographical region. Learn from people that are doing well in their skills. Have someone that you are following, someone that is doing well in that area that you too want to venture into, so that will help you also. You didn't thinking of an height, just that you are just at the top of your career.
All right, finally, how do you think this is going to impact the economy, business world?
Okay. Let me just cast our mind back to the olden days farming. Then when people have to use cutlasses and all these things to farm. But now you can see the rate of food production now. If you are, the rate of food production by using of mechanized farming. So it speed up, it reduces the human energy when you have to go morning and night. So in the same way, if technology is being enhanced, if technology is all over the world, if we just look at China, for example. What is making China to be at top of is the technology. You understand that the skills that they have to go to they do this and all that. So if as a nation, as an African, so if we can also be more intentional about it, there will be less how would I call it now, unemployment, because everyone will be engaged with one thing or the other. So if you upscale the skill that people have, so people will be less dependent, and the nation of the rate of corruption, the rate of how would I call it now, thug and all that, it should be reduced. Even with the African, we have the desire peace that they are longing for, all this one, because no one will be hiding. No one will be hiding. And as they are doing that, as they are paying their tax, the nation will continue to move. How would I call it? We will need to move forward. Progress.
All right. Thank you so much, Alabi Bankole Michael. It's good to have you on the Business Morning Show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's good to have you here also.
All right. Still to come after the break, Nigeria's SME journey in intra-African trade. Do stay with us.